So pause the video to give yourself time to try them before I go through the answers. Okay, so let's go. Welcome back. Hopefully you've done questions 1, 2 and 3, and let's go through those ones now. To make something a real number, 5x has to be greater than or equal to 0, therefore x has to be greater than or equal to 0. To make this a real number, first let's look at the denominator. That cannot equal 0, so therefore x cannot equal minus 2. And then let's look at the numerator. That has to be greater than or equal to 0, so x has to be greater than or equal to 1. So the things it can equal is those. Okay, we'll scroll down to number 3 now. If b squared is b, then b has to be greater than or equal to 0, and if b cubed is, the cubed root of b cubed is minus 3, then it has to be less than or equal to 0. It cannot equal a positive number because you can't, because the answer is negative. Okay, question 4, 5, 6. Pause it again so you can try these questions before I go through the answers. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you understand them, and let's see if you've got them right. So the first things first is that x is less than 0. And if x is less than 0, then we've got the square root of x squared is going to be negative x. And from this point on, we've got x squared minus x over x, minus x even, which would make it x squared plus x over x. And we can divide everything by x, so we are left with x plus 1. So our answer is x plus 1. Number 5, simplify this. We have got the absolute value of b plus 3. Now firstly let's look in the root because that's the important one. So we've got b minus 3, it has to be greater than or equal to 0, so b has to be greater than or equal to 3. So no matter what b takes, this will always, b plus 3 will always be positive. Always. Because the lowest number it can be is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6, and everything's going to go higher from there. And from that, the absolute value then of b plus 3 is just going to be b plus 3 because it's already positive. This is positive, so the square root and the square cancel out, so we've got b minus 3. And then from there, we collect like terms, we've got 2b, 3 and minus 3 cancel out, so the answer is just 2b. Okay, now let's do question number 6. We've got root x minus 2 plus root 2 minus x equals y plus 16. Here it says x minus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0, 2 minus x has to be greater than or equal to 0, which means that x has to be greater than or equal to 2, or x has to be less than or equal to 2, which means that x has to equal 2. Using that, the left-hand side would equal 0, which means y plus 16. Y has to be minus 16. So therefore, we've got the square root of minus 16 squared. If you square the 16, you get a positive number on the inside. And therefore, if you square root it, you can get positive or negative 16 as your answer. So it can be both here. As the square turns it into a positive, then you can have both answers. Okay, and then the last two questions, 7 and 8, pause it again to give them a go. Okay, welcome back. Now let's go through 7 and 8. We want to find the lowest possible integer value of this, which means that 3m plus 1 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So let's solve the inequality. So m has to be greater than or equal to minus a third. And the lowest possible integer from that would be 0. 0 is also an integer. Observe the equations. This, I'm going to put it into a pattern again. So let's think about which one n is going to be. N will be this one. This one goes up each term. First term, second term, third term. So it's going to be n. Root. Inside the root, they are all going up by 1, so it's n plus 1. And this is going to be slightly different because it's 1, 4 and 9. So how do we get that using our n? Well, they are the square numbers, so it's going to be n squared times by, and then the final one, where do we get this 2, 3 and 4 from? It's going to be times by n plus 1. Hopefully you found this video good. Click subscribe for the next session of Shanghai Maths 1 lesson 1 exercise grade 8. Thank you.